I should have listened to Commander Vrel when she said humans were dangerous. But no, I had to volunteer for this assignment. I had to be the one who wanted to prove himself. Korvan the Bold, they would call me. Korvan the Idiot was more accurate. My name is Korvan, and I am a scout for the Talrex Dominion, 3rd Fleet, Reconnaissance Division. We had been monitoring Earth for approximately 6 of their months, cataloging their weapons, their military installations, their defensive capabilities. The assessment was clear. Humans were soft, primitive, barely capable of interstellar communication. Their armies relied on chemical propellants and crude ballistic weapons. Their strongest warriors could barely lift 3 times their body weight. We were gods compared to them. So when the Dominion Council approved the subjugation protocol, nobody questioned it. Why would we? We had conquered 47 species across 12 star systems. Humans would be number 48. The landing site was designated Sector 7 Gamma, somewhere in what humans called Montana. Rolling hills, sparse population, minimal military presence. Perfect for establishing our first forward base. My pod descended through the atmosphere with 11 other scouts. Our task simple: secure the perimeter, eliminate any resistance, wait for the main force. The pods landed with barely a whisper, our stealth technology far superior to anything humans possessed. I emerged from mine, breathing apparatus adjusting to the oxygen-rich environment, neural scanner sweeping for life signs. Korvan, report. Vrel's voice crackled through my comm implant. Touchdown successful, Commander. Scanning now. I adjusted the gain on my scanner, detecting minimal life signs. Looks like one structure, approximately 300 meters northeast. Single occupant, juvenile human, by the size. Just one? Vrel sounded almost disappointed. Hardly worth the ammunition. Should we proceed with elimination protocol? There was a pause. Affirmative. No witnesses. Make it quick. I signaled to my squad. 12 of us, fully armed with plasma rifles, personal shields, enhanced armor, against one child. This would be over in seconds. We moved through the terrain with practiced efficiency, our boots making no sound on the earth. The structure came into view, a modest dwelling, wooden construction, primitive but functional. Smoke rose from a chimney, very quaint, very doomed. I held up my hand, and the squad halted. Through my scope, I could see movement inside. A small figure, maybe 8 or 9 years old by human standards, sitting at a table. Brown hair, wearing what appeared to be their casual clothing, completely unaware that 12 armed soldiers from another world were about to end his existence. On my mark, I whispered into the comm. 3, 2. That is when I saw it. Next to the child, lying on the floor near his feet, was an animal. My scanner had picked it up as a domestic pet, nothing threatening. Probably something like the cats or dogs we had observed in our surveillance. But as I focused my scope, I felt something uncomfortable twist in my secondary stomach. It was not a cat. It was not a dog. It was about a meter long, stocky, with silver and black fur, a flat head, and small eyes that seemed to be closed in sleep. My database pinged with an identification. Mellivora capensis. Common name, honey badger. I had read the files. I had seen the videos during our briefing, but Command had dismissed them as exaggerations, propaganda meant to scare invading forces. After all, how dangerous could a creature weighing less than 15 kilograms possibly be? I should have aborted right then. Mark, I said instead. We breached the door simultaneously. 4 entry points. Standard overwhelming force tactics. The wood splintered like paper. The child looked up from his meal, a spoon halfway to his mouth, eyes wide with shock. Do not move, human. I leveled my rifle at him, my translator converting my words into his crude language. The boy, he could not have been more than 8, just stared at us. No screaming, no crying. He very carefully put his spoon down and raised his hands slightly, palms out. Smart kid. Maybe we could stun him instead, take him for study. The science division was always looking for specimens. You are now property of the Talrex Dominion, I continued, feeling rather pleased with how smoothly this was going. Comply and you will not be harmed, resist and... The honey badger lifted its head. I swear, and I am not exaggerating this for effect, the temperature in the room dropped 5 degrees. Those small black eyes opened, focused directly on me, and I suddenly understood why humans had words like malevolence and wrath in their vocabulary. Korvan? That was Drell, my second in command. That animal. It is awake. I can see that, Drell. The files said. I know what the files said. I kept my rifle trained on the boy. It is just an animal. Proceed with. The honey badger stood up. It did not leap, it did not attack. It simply stood there, and somehow that was worse than any aggressive display could have been. Its posture radiated a very specific message, and that message was, I am about to ruin your entire day, and there is absolutely nothing you can do to stop me. The boy, still with his hands raised, glanced down at his pet. Then he looked back at me, and I swear I saw something like pity in his eyes. You should leave, the child said quietly. His voice had not broken yet, still high and clear. Brutus doesn't like strangers. Brutus. The creature's name was Brutus. Of course it was. We have plasma rifles, I said, trying to sound authoritative. We have shielded armor. We have conquered species far more dangerous than one small mammal. Stand down, human, or... The boy smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had seen this movie before and knew exactly how it ended. Then he whispered two words that would haunt me for the rest of my life. Finish them. What happened next lasted approximately 45 seconds. I know this because my suit recorded everything, and I have watched that footage exactly once, during the tribunal. I will never watch it again. Brutus moved. I have seen combat drones move. I have seen Vrel, our finest warrior, in battle. I have witnessed the feral hunters of Draxos Prime, creatures bred specifically for speed and lethality. Nothing prepared me for how fast that honey badger was. Trell was closest to the animal. He was also the first to die. Brutus crossed the distance between them in less than a second, leaped, and latched onto Trell's throat with jaws that, according to the autopsy, exerted over 400 pounds of pressure per square inch. Trell's armor was rated to withstand plasma blasts. It did absolutely nothing against those teeth. The screaming started. Plasma bolts filled the air as my squad opened fire, but Brutus was already gone, moving to his next target with a speed that made him almost impossible to track. Vrix took a shot, missed, hit Drell instead. Drell went down clutching his side, his shields overloaded. Brutus hit Vrix from behind, claws that could dig through concrete raking across his back armor. The armor held, barely, but the impact knocked Vrix forward into the wall. Before he could recover, Brutus had found the weak point at the neck joint, where armor segments met, and did something I will not describe in detail, except to say that Vrix stopped moving very quickly. Fall back, I screamed into the comm. Fall back, call for backup. Grell was trying to do exactly that, backing toward the door while firing wildly. Brutus feinted left, Grell tracked, and then the animal reversed direction faster than physics should have allowed. Grell's leg went out from under him, tendons severed. He hit the ground hard. I should have helped him. I should have covered his position. I was the squad leader. I ran. I am not proud of this, but I ran. Behind me, the screaming continued. Plasma fire, the sound of armor being shredded, and through it all, a low, throaty growling that sounded like a diesel engine made of pure rage. I burst out of the dwelling, gasping, my 3 hearts hammering in my chest. 4 others had made it out, Prel, Torax, Mivvin, and Lux. We stared at each other, wild-eyed, not quite believing what had just happened. What in the 7 hells was that? Prel demanded. Tactical retreat, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Regroup at the pods. Request orbital strike on this position. An orbital strike? On one animal? Torax looked at me like I had gone insane. Did you see what that thing just did? I grabbed him by his armor. It killed 7 of us in less than a minute. We need. The door exploded outward. Brutus emerged, covered in blue blood, our blood, moving with the same casual confidence as before. Behind him, framed in the doorway, stood the boy. The child had not moved from his position at the table. He was eating his meal again, watching us the way one might watch an interesting but ultimately unimportant sporting event. Shields up, I ordered. Concentrated fire on my mark. We formed a firing line, 5 plasma rifles aimed at one small mammal. Our training was solid. Our equipment was the best the Dominion could provide. We had tactical superiority, numerical advantage, better positioning. None of it mattered. Brutus charged. Prell fired first, a direct hit to the center mass. The plasma bolt struck Brutus square in the chest, and for one glorious moment I thought we had actually stopped it. The creature stumbled, fur singed. Then it kept coming. How? Prell screamed. How is it still moving? I would later learn that honey badgers have incredibly loose skin, allowing them to twist and turn even when bitten or grabbed. They have a resistance to venom that makes them effectively immune to most toxins. Their pain tolerance is so high that they have been observed continuing to fight, even with broken bones and serious injuries. Evolution had created a perfect killing machine, wrapped it in a furry package, and given it an attitude problem that made our most aggressive warriors look timid by comparison. Brutus reached Prell first, went low, and did something to his knee that made it bend in a direction knees are definitely not supposed to bend. Prell went down screaming. Talrex tried to grab the animal, got his hand too close, and learned why honey badgers have a bite force that rivals creatures 5 times their size. Meven, bless her tactical mind, tried to use her stun baton. She actually landed a solid hit, enough electricity to drop a full-grown Talrex warrior. Brutus paused, shook his head like he had walked through a spider web, and then removed her from the equation with an efficiency that spoke of vast experience in the art of violence. Lux and I were backing away now, firing constantly, our plasma rifles on full automatic. We were hitting him. I know we were, but it was like trying to stop a landslide with harsh language. Korvan, Lux's voice was pure panic. The pods. We need to reach the pods. We turned and ran, all tactical training forgotten, pure survival instinct taking over. The pods were 200 meters away. We could make it. We had to make it. I heard Lux go down behind me, his scream cutting off abruptly. I did not look back. I did not stop. I reached my pod, slammed my hand on the emergency launch protocol. The door hissed open and I threw myself inside, hitting the seal command before I had even fully entered. The door began to close. Through the narrowing gap, I could see Brutus, sitting calmly about 10 meters away, watching me. Just watching. Blood dripped from his muzzle. His breathing was steady. He looked completely at peace. And in that moment, I understood something that command never would, that the Dominion Council could never comprehend. We had not attacked a child being guarded by an animal. We had interrupted a honey badger who was being assisted by a human. The door sealed. The pod's engines screamed to life. I initiated emergency ascent, breaking about 40 different safety protocols in my haste to get off that cursed planet. As I rose through the atmosphere, my comm crackled to life. Korvan, report. What is your status? Commander Vrel sounded annoyed. Why are you launching? The mission is not complete. I looked at the screen showing my squad's vital signs. 11, flatlines. Only mine still showed activity. Mission failed, Commander, I said, my voice hollow. Requesting immediate extraction. All other units are gone. Gone? What do you mean gone? You had overwhelming force against a single juvenile human. It was not the human, Commander. There was a long pause. Then, in a very careful voice, explain. So I did. I told her everything. The breach. The honey badger. The systematic elimination of my entire squad by a creature that weighed less than some of our standard equipment. Another long pause. You are telling me, Vrel said slowly, that an Earth mammal, listed as non-threatening in our database, eliminated 11 trained Talrex soldiers? Yes, Commander. And you ran away? Yes, Commander. I see. Her tone suggested that I did not see at all, that I was about to face consequences that would make combat with Brutus look pleasant. Return to the ship immediately. We will discuss your tactical retreat at length. The comm went dead. I set course for the fleet, my hand still shaking. Through the viewport, I could see Earth shrinking below me. That beautiful blue and green marble that had seemed so vulnerable, so ready for conquest. I had been wrong. Command had been wrong. We had all been catastrophically, terribly wrong. Because somewhere down there, in a modest wooden dwelling in Montana, a small boy was finishing his dinner while his honey badger licked blue blood from its paws, and neither of them had even broken a sweat. The tribunal convened 3 cycles after my return to the flagship Relentless Victory, which now felt like a monument to misplaced confidence. I stood in the center of the judgment circle, surrounded by 7 members of the War Council, their faces displaying various shades of disgust, disbelief, and barely concealed fury. Commander Vrel sat directly across from me, her expression carved from stone. "Let me understand this correctly," High Arbiter Quinn began, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "You abandoned your entire squad because of a household pet?" "With respect, High Arbiter, it was not simply a pet. The creature was 15 kilograms of fur and teeth." Quinn slammed his appendage on the console. "We have battle mechs, we have orbital cannons, we have weapons that can crack planets. And you fled from something a human child keeps as a companion." I wanted to argue. I wanted to show them the footage, make them understand. But the looks on their faces told me everything I needed to know. They had already decided I was a coward, a disgrace, someone who had hallucinated danger where none existed. "Permission to present evidence?" I asked quietly. Vrel leaned forward. "Your suit recorded the entire incident. We have all reviewed it. Multiple times. Then you saw what happened. You saw what that animal did to. We saw chaotic footage of your squad firing wildly, hitting each other in a confined space, panicking over a small mammal." Arbiter Phoenix interrupted. "What we did not see was anything that justified your desertion." My primary heart sank. They were not going to believe me. They could not afford to believe me. Because if I was right, then everything we thought we knew about Earth was wrong. "The human child gave it a command," I said, knowing how desperate I sounded. "He told it to finish us. That implies training, tactical coordination, weaponization of native species." "Or," Vrel said coldly, "it implies you misheard a frightened child while you were shooting up his home. The tribunal finds you guilty of cowardice in the face of minimal resistance, abandonment of your unit, and gross exaggeration of threat assessment. You are hereby stripped of rank and assigned to waste reclamation for the remainder of this campaign." Waste reclamation. The lowest position on any ship, reserved for criminals and failures. I should have felt shame. I should have felt anger. All I felt was relief that I would not be sent back to Earth. "However," Quinn continued, his tone shifting, "your squad's elimination cannot be ignored, regardless of the cause. General Thax has requested a demonstration of force. We will show these humans what happens when they resist the Dominion." My blood went cold. "High Arbiter, I strongly advise against further ground operations until we—" "You are dismissed, Waste Technician Korvan. Your advice is no longer required or desired." 2 guards escorted me from the chamber. As the doors sealed behind me, I heard Quinn's voice echoing through the hall. "Prepare Assault Group Delta. 500 troops, full armor support, atmospheric fighters. Target coordinates, the dwelling where the incident occurred. Elimination protocol, everything within a 5-kilometer radius." No, they could not be that stupid. They could not possibly, but of course they could. Pride, the downfall of every empire that had ever existed, and we had it in abundance. I spent the next 6 hours in the waste reclamation bay, trying not to think about what was about to happen. The other workers avoided me. Word of my disgrace had spread quickly. I was the soldier who ran from a pet, the coward who let his brothers die. Let them think that. Let them believe I was weak. At least I would survive. The alert klaxon shattered my thoughts. Red lights bathed the bay in crimson urgency. My comm implant, still active despite my demotion, crackled into life with automated emergency broadcasts. "All hands to battle stations. All hands to battle stations. We are under attack. This is not a drill. Under attack." That was impossible. Humans did not have spacecraft capable of reaching orbit. They barely had satellites that worked properly. I abandoned my post and ran toward the nearest observation deck, ignoring the shouts of the base supervisor. Other crew members were doing the same, drawn by the same confused panic that gripped me. The observation deck was packed with personnel, all staring out at the view screens in stunned silence. Earth hung below us, serene and beautiful. But between us and the planet, hundreds of human aircraft were rising through the atmosphere. Not spacecraft, just their primitive jets, pushing their engines far beyond safe operating limits, climbing toward orbit on nothing but thrust, and what I could only describe as suicidal determination. "They cannot reach us," someone whispered. "They do not have the altitude capability." They were right. The aircraft were struggling, sputtering out around 60,000 meters, far below our position, at 200,000 meters. Then the missiles launched, hundreds of them, fired from the aircraft at the apex of their climb, their momentum carrying them upward even as the planes themselves fell back toward Earth. The missiles were crude, chemical rockets with basic guidance systems. They should not have been a threat, but there were so many of them, and they were all nuclear. Evasive maneuvers, Vrel's voice screamed through the comm. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Raise shields. The first warhead detonated 2 kilometers from the relentless Victory, a miniature sun blooming in the void. Our shields held, barely. The second hit closer, the third closer still. They were bracketing us, using their own missiles as targeting references, walking their fire toward our position with tactics that should have been beyond their capability. Who taught them this? How did they coordinate so quickly? The command deck dissolved into chaos, voices screaming over each other. Shield generators at 60%. Hull breach on deck 7. The assault group. What about the assault group? I pulled up the tactical display on a nearby console, my old security code still granting me access. The 500 soldiers of Assault Group Delta had launched 30 minutes ago, descending toward Montana in heavily armored dropships. Every single one showed as destroyed, not damaged, not disabled, destroyed. I accessed the last transmitted footage from Dropship Alpha, the command vessel. The pilot had kept recording until the very end. They had been hit by surface-to-air missiles, dozens of them, fired from positions that had not existed during our initial reconnaissance. The humans had mobilized their military in hours, repositioned assets, established kill zones. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was visible in the final seconds of footage, as Dropship Alpha spiraled toward the ground, its engines dead, its hull compromised. The camera caught a glimpse of the ground below. Thousands of humans, civilians and military alike, standing in fields and on roads, on rooftops and in parking lots. All of them looking up, all of them holding weapons, everything from military rifles to hunting guns to what appeared to be homemade explosives. And among them, I swear I saw small forms, low to the ground, moving with purpose. More honey badgers. The humans had not just mobilized their armies. They had mobilized everything. Every person who could hold a weapon. Every creature that could fight. The footage cut to static as Alpha hit the ground. This is impossible. General Thax's voice boomed through the comm. They are primitives. They should be surrendering, not counterattacking. General, we need to withdraw, Vrel said, her composure cracking. We have underestimated their response capability. We need time to reassess. Withdraw? From these savages? Never. Deploy the main battle fleet. I want every ship in firing position. We will show them the price of resistance. That was when the second wave hit us. Not missiles this time. Something far more disturbing. Every electronic system on the relentless Victory began failing simultaneously. Consoles sparked and died. Life support fluctuated. Artificial gravity cut out for 3 terrifying seconds before backup systems engaged. Cyber attack, the operations officer screamed. They are in our systems. How are they in our systems? Through the observation deck windows, I could see the other ships in our fleet experiencing similar failures. The destroyer Crimson Fang listed to one side, thrusters firing randomly. The carrier Absolute Rain went completely dark, emergency lights the only sign of life. Humans did not have this technology. Their computer systems were decades behind ours. This should not be possible, unless they had help. Are there other species here? I grabbed the nearest officer. Did we detect any other civilization on Earth? What? No. Just humans and animals, and the realization hit us both at the same time. Dolphins, octopi, corvids, primates. Earth was full of intelligent species. We had just been too arrogant to classify them as such. What if the humans had not developed their technology alone? What if they had been collaborating, sharing knowledge, building on each other's strengths? What if Earth was not one civilization, but dozens, all working together? We need to leave, I said. Right now. Full retreat. You do not give orders here, waste technician, the officer snarled, but his eyes showed fear. The main view screen flickered to life, showing General Thax on the command deck of his flagship. He looked diminished somehow. Older. All ships, he said quietly. Prepare for emergency jump to hyperspace. We are leaving this system. General, the assault group, Vrel began, is gone. They are all gone. Thax's face was ashen. I just received a transmission from the surface. From the humans. What did they say? Thax played the message. It was audio only, a male voice speaking in English, our translators converting it to our language. To the invaders currently in orbit around our planet, this is General Marcus Holt of the United Earth Defense Coalition. You have attacked our children. You have destroyed our property. You have killed our people. This is your only warning. Leave now, or we will come up there and drag you down. And trust me, you do not want to see what we bring with us. The transmission ended. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then someone laughed, a high hysterical sound. They are threatening us? They cannot even reach orbit properly. They reached us with nuclear weapons, Vrel said softly. They infiltrated our computer systems. They destroyed an entire assault group. What else can they do? As if in answer, something massive detached from Earth's surface. At first I thought it was a missile, but the trajectory was wrong, too slow, too controlled. It was a spacecraft. Crude, ugly, clearly built in a desperate hurry. But it was climbing, accelerating, heading directly toward us. And it was not alone. Dozens more were launching, scattered across the planet. I could see the massive rockets strapped to their hulls, the kind of brute force engineering that ignored efficiency in favor of raw power. They were going to reach us. Jump, jump now, General Thax screamed. The fleet began initiating hyperspace sequences, but it takes time, even with our advanced technology. 30 seconds minimum for the engines to charge. The first human craft would reach us in 40. It was going to be close. I watched the countdown timer, my 3 hearts hammering in perfect synchronization. 20 seconds. 15. 10. The human craft were visible now on the tactical display, closing fast. I could see weapons ports opening on their hulls. What kind of weapons? Chemical? Nuclear? Something worse? 5 seconds. The lead human craft fired. Not weapons. A transmission. It appeared on every screen simultaneously, overriding our security protocols like they were not even there. A video feed showing the interior of the human spacecraft. At the controls sat a young woman, maybe 20 years old, wearing what looked like a hastily assembled pressure suit. She grinned at the camera. Hey there, space invaders. Surprised to see us up here? Yeah, we surprised ourselves too. Turns out when you threaten our kids, we get real motivated real fast. She gestured to someone off screen. Want to show them what we brought? The camera panned to reveal the crew compartment. It was full of honey badgers. Dozens of them, somehow secured in makeshift harnesses, all staring at the camera with those flat, dead eyes that promised nothing but pain. We figured if one of these guys could take out 11 of your soldiers, what could 50 do? The woman's grin widened. Want to find out? Because we are about to dock with your flagship. We have cutting torches. We have explosives. And we have Brutus's entire extended family. And they are really eager to meet you. 2 seconds. 1. The universe twisted, reality folded, and the relentless victory leaped into hyperspace, leaving Earth and its insane inhabitants far behind. We jumped blind, emergency coordinates, no destination, just away, anywhere but there. When we finally dropped back into normal space, 6 light years from Earth, I looked around the observation deck. Veteran soldiers, warriors who had seen combat across a dozen worlds, all of them staring at nothing, their faces showing the same shell-shocked expression. We had fled. The mighty Talrex Dominion had run away from a species that still used fossil fuels and argued about whether their planet was getting warmer. General Thax called an emergency meeting of all surviving command staff. I was not invited, but I accessed the audio feed anyway. What were they going to do? Demote me again? We need to reassess the threat level, Vrel was saying. These humans, they are not like other species we have encountered. They do not surrender. They do not negotiate. They weaponize everything, including their own pets. One setback does not mean. Arbiter Quinn began. One setback. Vrel's voice rose. We lost over 600 soldiers, 3 ships, and our entire invasion fleet got hacked by a species that still uses cables for data transfer. This was not a setback. This was a massacre. What do you propose? Thax sounded exhausted. We leave them alone. We mark their system as restricted space. We never, ever go back. The Council will never approve that. We have never retreated from. Then the Council can lead the next assault personally, Vrel snapped. I am not sending any more of my soldiers against those monsters. There was a long silence. Finally, Thax spoke. Very well. I will recommend to the Council that Earth be classified as a level 10 threat. Prohibited contact. They will ask why. Then we tell them the truth. That we attacked a human child, and his pet destroyed us. Another silence. They will never believe it, Quinn said. They do not have to believe it. They just have to stay away. The meeting ended. I stood in the observation deck, looking out at the stars, thinking about a small boy in Montana eating his dinner while his honey badger sat beside him. That child had probably finished his meal, cleaned his plate, gone to bed without giving us another thought. We were the monsters who attacked him. Brutus was just a loyal friend protecting his human. And we had learned something the hard way. Something that every species that survived contact with humanity would eventually understand. Humans do not just have weapons. They have companions who fight beside them. They have animals who love them enough to face down plasma rifles and armored soldiers without hesitation. They have a bond with their planet and everything on it that goes deeper than technology or tactics. You do not conquer Earth by defeating its armies. You conquer Earth by defeating everything, every person, every creature, every living thing that calls that blue marble home. And honestly, after meeting Brutus, I do not think that is possible. The Talrex Dominion never returned to Earth. The Council accepted General Thax's recommendation, though they listed the official reason as insufficient strategic value rather than we got our butts kicked by a honey badger. Sometimes I wonder if that boy ever knew what happened. If he understood that he and his pet saved his entire planet from invasion. Probably not. He was probably more concerned with finishing his homework and feeding Brutus. And somewhere in the galaxy, the Talrex Dominion continues its expansion, conquering world after world. Just never that one. Never Earth. Because we learned our lesson. You do not mess with humanity's children. And you definitely, absolutely, under no circumstances, mess with their honey badgers.